right, everybody, what's up? What's good? BQ here and TW
Yeah.
representing the Impact Lounge. And this is the Cool Factor podcast, talking about Impact Wrestling each and every week. This is going to be a very quick, we got like 3 talking points on Impact. We're going to hit that real quick. And then we're going to preview Bound for Glory, give you our thoughts, predictions. And then, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can give us your thoughts and predictions as well. And we can see where that all lines up. So, I'm going to get into 3 talking points here. Usually we go back and forth, myself and TW here, but I'm just going to kick this off so that we can move into this Bound for Glory thing. The first point I want to make from the show is that the opening 5-way match that had Alicia, Hernandez, Rhino, Heath, and who was he? Brian Myers. Was it Brian Myers?
Right.
No, was it Brian Myers?
Yeah. Oh, was it?
No, sorry, I didn't write the names down.
Hernandez,
because I thought I'd remember.
Heath, Rhino, and who else? Oh my god! Was it AC?
No. Anyway, it's pretty much pointless at this point. Maybe it'll hit us while we're talking about it. But what I want to say about this match, I know you didn't really watch this one. We already talked about this a little bit offline. You were kind of preoccupied. This match actually exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be a comedy match, much like the 5-on-5 was. And then I made the point last week that the Call Your Shot Gauntlet has too much comedy going for me right now.
Right.
With the way that match played out last week. But this match actually, it had some high stakes. So I thought it was taken fairly seriously by the competitors. And given that Alicia was in this match, and she can't be taller than 5'4". I mean, she's
right.
tiny. Given her inclusion in this match, I thought everything played out pretty realistically. The only thing that I thought was very unbelievable was her jumping from the outside and taking out 3 guys. I could catch her if she jumped off the top rope. So if you're going to tell me she knocked over Cousin Jake, okay, that's
Jake.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you're going to tell me she took out Cousin Jake and Rhino, you know what I'm saying? I can't buy that. But other than that, I thought the inclusion of her in it actually worked. I thought factoring her into the finish where she took a spear made sense. Josh even said, or I think Madison said, well, she's not going to Bound for Glory now, which makes sense because remember I said, well, she's not in the competitors, so that makes sense. But what we're going to focus on here is that Rhino loses, Hernandez wins. This is probably a good thing. Hernandez is probably the worst worker out of the bunch, so limit his involvement. They like to do the big guy drawing number 20. They did that with Shira last year. Hernandez needs to do some DDP yoga or something, man, because he just looks so immobile out there.
Yeah.
Man,
young Hernandez really did have that Supermax thing going on. I mean, he was really agile, super fit. You know who young Hernandez kind of reminded me of?
Who's that?
Kind of a Brian Cage. He kind of reminded me a little bit of a Brian Cage. Okay. He was like this super athletic dude who was just, very agile and mobile for his size. It was crazy. Minus the veiny steroid physique. But he's not in that kind of shape anymore, but he can still do a lot of cool stuff. And he does move like, look, man, you carry a lot of weight for a while, it catches up to you. I know.
Yeah, man. Speaking of DDP yoga, man, that is the biggest scam.
Is it really?
So I did DDP yoga several years ago.
Okay.
These were the easiest workouts that I have ever done in my life. And I've heard people like Johnny Impact, John Morrison talk about it. Like, oh man, these kicked my butt. Like, I was like, I must be doing something wrong because I did everything from beginner to difficulty on that damn DVD. My heart rate didn't jump up a single beat. Like, this was the easiest freaking.
Are you a vampire?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
I'm a closet fan of Twilight, but I'm not a vampire. No, I think it works if you're like really out of shape or something, but I don't know, man. That to me was the biggest waste of my money in the world. But
yeah, you know what? Every when it comes to workouts, like everybody's different, right? Like my wife is super type A, and when it comes to working out, she needs an intense workout. So like something that's like low impact, she hates it. She hates it. Like for me, I'm like, yo, let me just bust a sweat. Like my favorite thing to do workout wise is lifting weights. You know what I mean? I like I'm naturally, big and strong, and I can break a good sweat throughout like my weightlifting. But like cardio, I'm like, oh, Like, but like some people just need that intense heart rate up, going. So that's probably what it is. It's just like for whatever for your workout style, you probably need something that's a little more high impact. Break that really good hard sweat, and that just probably wasn't it for you.
Like you're better off investing in a Jillian Michaels DVD, honestly.
Which I have.
But, okay.
Well, my wife has, but
all right.
I used it before. Jillian is no joke.
Yeah,
Jillian is
definitely not. But moving along, so Hernandez. But the big story here is Rhino gets pinned, so he has to come in at number 1. Now, some people are saying, well, why didn't Heath get number 1? Because he's the one who really has to win this thing. But I think the story is more intriguing for Rhino, where it's like, well, so far he's letting his buddy down.
Right.
They like to have number 1s, number 2s last the entire match. So Rhino's probably going to be there in the end with Heath and a third person who probably is going to win. I don't know. We'll talk about that with our predictions later, but just want to bring up those points. Do you have anything to follow up on that? I know you didn't watch a whole lot.
No. I watched it a little bit in passing. Like I said, I was having really crazy night trying to get the kids to bed. It just was not happening. It was not the odds were not in my favor. but I did get to see that the match was happening. I did get to see who won. And yeah, I mean, leading more to the predictions, I think this kind of falls in line with what I kind of predicted after the news we got on last week's show regarding the different steps that are now a part of that not battle royal, but the gauntlet match.
Right. And as I said last week, they're making it mean it's probably still going to mean nothing when it's all said and done. But so far, the story means something compared to last year. So
right.
Really happy about that. The other point I want to talk about, the X Division match, I thought was fun. I enjoyed it. At first I saw it and I was like, dude, they're really just going to put all these competitors in the same match and halfway give us the match. But no, I thought it worked. I thought Jordynne Grace, her role, whether on offense or taking offense, was so much more believable to me than Tessa Blanchard out there. I just felt like, because they clearly weren't trying to push her to the moon in this process like they were doing with Tessa, where she's Superwoman. She was just competing in the match. You know what I mean? So, and I fully expected, I would have bet both testicles on this, that Rohit was going to take this loss. I knew he was going to take the loss. Like part of me was like, dude, certainly he's going to get a little momentum going into this. No. So, you got anything on the title match though, or match? So
that leads along with the story they've been telling, right? Like Rohit is the chicken crap heel. He's avoiding competition, and I think it's gonna definitely play in to how the match is gonna play out at Bound for Glory. So listen, overall, like the consistency with the storytelling here has been phenomenal. Yeah, it really, really has. If you can think of like most wrestling shows that you've seen, as far as their ability to stick with a story over the course of what's it been, like 10 weeks since Slammiversary, something like that. I mean, and these stories have played out like sequentially in like a proper order, right? That makes sense. And so I would say, listen, the storytelling has been really good. It's been really good. It's been, it's made sense. And even though, you don't want to see the champion being like the guy running scared, it falls in line with how he got the title and, how we got everybody put into this match.
Yeah. They did him along with the Motor City Machine Guns champions all left on their ass on this episode. But I guess it's, part of the story they're trying to do. And then the last thing I want to say, speaking of the show Motor City Machine Guns, was the main event. I thought, if I'm being really honest here, I thought they blew an opportunity at a legit dream match. Like, they throw this term around a lot
I was like, come on, Josh Matthews.
I've brought that up a lot, man. They throw this term around. One time Don Callis called TJP, a potential TJP versus Trey Miguel match is a dream match. And
it's a dream match, Josh. What are you talking about?
Yeah, man. There was a time where they were throwing it out there every week, every episode. Oh, we got dream matches with this 20-man roster,
Right.
This was a match they legitimately, was
it's
a legitimate
dream match anywhere in Ohio.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But they could have done, just done something really special with this. But I gave it the benefit of the doubt. I said, well, you know what? This is still going to be a good match. So maybe I just need to enjoy it for what it is. And then part of me was that there's no way they're going to do a clean finish in this match. Because here's the thing, man, with a first-time match, you only get a first-time match one time. You can't, it doesn't matter if you do it 3 years from now, you can only do it once.
Right.
And to do a total BS DQ finish at the end of this, which you're going to tell me of all the tag team matches that haven't, this is the time they're going to call double disqualification for breaking the 5-second count or whatever.
So stupid.
Yeah,
not even a good disqualification. Not even a good disqualification.
And then it was
a disqualification where they just had all the teams run in and did it that way, right? That would have been a better disqualification if it was just like, hey, these 4 teams can't keep their hands off each other and we can't even, get a match finished. That's why we got to put them all 4 in the ring at the same time because these guys are just itching to get at each other.
Right.
That would have been way better than the stupid, everybody's in the ring fighting. Too much fighting disqualification, that's to me, that's stupid.
As cookie cutter as that would have been, it still would have just made more logical sense.
Right.
I knew that this was going to end with everyone running out. They wrestling companies have been doing this forever, so I knew that's how it was going to end. But I thought the match for what it was entertaining, but I was very disappointed with that. And then Josh had said, "Oh well, there's been a lot of trash talking between the Good Brothers and the Machine Guns." Like, it's been the equivalent of what you said, the bumping each other into the hallway in the back. That's been the heat, dude. There's been no actual on-screen heat between them. It's been like joking back and forth, and and that's why I hate putting so many tag teams in a match. You're talking about 8 different people, and I just felt like the story that they were trying to build here really lacked. And this for me wasn't a great let me say first, as a go home show, this was a pretty good show because the last few pay-per-views, I don't know about Slammiversaries, but I know the last couple of years, they would have go home shows, man, where they would have all these dudes wrestling who weren't even part of the pay-per-view.
Right.
And there was no, and it's, I guess it's a double-edged sword because we're also saying, well, we don't want to see the people on the pay-per-view fight each other, but it doesn't mean they can't wrestle. We just don't want to see them wrestle each other before the pay-per-view.
Right.
So I thought for a go-home show it was good, but what they did with this tag team match, trying to, let's give this biggest possible match that go home with, it just didn't hit for me.
Yeah, and so here's the thing too. I think they have the opportunity with, the Good Brothers and the Machine Guns to have a big fight feel for a match. Like, that match can stand alone. It doesn't need the tag team titles. That match can be a big fight feel match. And for a company that has really been carried by storytelling lately, they've really failed to tell us a story about these 2, teams that we want to hear a good story between. You know what I mean? We want this to feel like a big fight. And you can go the traditional way of having them both run through all the other teams at the roster so there's nobody left but them. You can do that. You can create some sort of personal issue. There's so many ways to go about it and do it, but they haven't done any of that. It's just been, we're going to keep putting these 4 teams in matches, and now they're all in a title match at the pay-per-view. And I'm sure it'll be a good match, right? It's 4 good teams, and 3 good teams, and Fulton and Madman,
Fulton and Austin,
and I think it'll be good. Now, I can't wait to get to the predictions on this one because I think there could be something really good coming out of this that actually leads to something that I say every week that could happen in this match.
Okay, I think I know where you're going with it. So we'll leave the episode of Impact at that. Overall, good episode, good go home show compared to previous go home shows. So with the exception of the tag match, for us not really hitting, the rest was cool. Let's do some previews, predictions. We're gonna start from the top, from the most important match, and then we'll work to what I feel is the least important.
Let's rewind 1 second back to the episode. I got to ask you what you thought of EC3 kidnapping Jimmy Jacobs for that little segment.
Oh, you know what? I actually thought that was cool. As I've said in the past, dude, these dark, ominous tones of dong, dong in the background, dude, it sounds so bad. It really takes away from how those segments with EC3 could feel.
And it's like comical when they pop in.
Right.
It'll be like no music, and then EC3 will pop in like dong dong.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And last week when you were talking about EC3, Moose beating him to a pulp and everything, I didn't see that. When you were talking about it, I kind of was silent. I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. So when I saw it after all, like, I didn't like it. I thought it was really cheesy. But this, I thought Moose's interview was funny. Like, he's always hilarious. And then the way they kidnapped him and did the interview, like, I could do without the dong, but other than that, dude, I thought it was good. I'm now a little more interested in the match. But what were your thoughts on it?
No, I mean, I feel like I've seen it, like, with EC3, and I don't know. I'm not sure what else there is, And so, listen, like I said, I'm interested to see the match. I've been interested to see the match for weeks, but just the, I don't know. Like, mad at the world EC3 does nothing for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if you got a chance to watch his Ring of Honor debut. I keep meaning to watch it, but
I haven't watched it, but I saw people posted it in the Impact Fan Nation group on Facebook, and they basically were saying, like, yo, this is the same thing he's been saying. Everybody's on notice. Control your narrative. Blah, blah, blah.
Right. I mean, I heard it was pretty good. I heard he has a good theme song. I doubt it's going to be trouble, when he shows up.
Yeah.
I was thinking this episode, man, watching one of the Eric Young when his interview. I'm sorry, he got interviewed, right, by Mean Gia.
Yes.
So when he was talking, I was like, he's saying a lot of the same things EC3 is. It's the terminology is a little bit different,
right?
But for the most part, he's saying the same message that EC3 is. So I talked about last week the similarities of EC3 and Eddie Edwards and Rich Swan both hobbling into Bound for Glory.
Right.
How these two characters actually have a lot of similarities, EC3 and Eric Young. So.
Yeah. I see. I'm not sure. I quite see it. I feel like Eric Young is more like, I don't know, just like I'm back and I'm mad and everybody's gonna pay because I'm mad. Actually, no. Now that you mention it, now that I say it out loud, that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm back and I'm mad and everybody's gonna pay because I'm mad.
Right.
That's pretty much it. But you know what it is? It's just like, it's something about that whole, like, just this whole like control your narrative thing. I think somebody posted this online somewhere, and it made so much sense. They said that he sounds like that dumb anarchist that we all knew in high school. And I was like, yo, oh my God, like, I didn't know a dumb anarchist in high school, but I'm like, yes, I totally get this. I'm like, yo, he just sounds like somebody's just so mad and just talking. And it's like, everybody's like, yo, shut up. You do not sound smart. Shut up. That's like, you know that guy. You know that guy.
That's trying to sound smart, but what he's saying actually makes no sense when you.
Yes. Yeah. That's what EC3 is, man. So yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see, but I'm pretty sure. Oh well, I don't. We'll get to that in the predictions.
Yeah. So we'll talk Bound for Glory here. As we've been saying, the build for this was not what Slammiversary was, or maybe the build was okay. It was just the buzz was not what Slammiversary was. And I think even for the buzz for actual Impact fans, people who we know were going to order the show and everything, I think they lost a little bit of steam once it was like, okay, we're bringing all these guys in. None of them are under contract. We signed the Good Brothers, apparently to a lot of money because they keep talking about it. Right. Did you watch the Talking Shop thing after?
So I had it on. I had it on like in the background while I was cleaning up the kitchen. And I'm so glad I did not try to sit down and watch that. I would have been so pissed.
It entertained me for what it was. It had its moments. Like, yeah, Scott D'Amore is the co-star as he's been on Impact lately, but the cartoon they did was, I thought, hilarious.
I thought the cartoon part was funny.
Yes. Yeah. I started dying laughing. My son ran in when he was like, Rocky Romero was like, he didn't respond to my TikTok, and then he was like singing in Spanish, "Call me maybe." It was I don't remember exactly what it was, man, but I thought that show was funny.
This kind of goes back to what I said before about the Good Brothers, right? It's like either you're into their whole thing, I know them from New Japan, and I'm with the whole thing, the whole Bullet Club thing. You know what I mean? Like either like you're already into it and you're just riding with that, or you're looking at it like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, it's one of the things, it feels like a big inside joke. And if you're in on it, then cool. If not, then it looks weird.
It's really clear that Impact was like, please sign here. You can do whatever you want when you get here.
Yeah. And they're constantly hawking their beer and their t-shirts and, whatever. And I'm like, God, man, heavy Booker T vibes. Heavy Booker T vibes, man. Like, I've heard Booker T talk about how, he was strictly with TNA just to get the money and how he didn't really care about it and yada, yada, yada. And I'm getting a little bit of Booker T vibes from these guys.
I hope that's not the case. I really do. I ordered the koozie, autographed koozie, and I still haven't received it yet. So that was on the online auction. So I hope that arrives soon. I don't want to do a PayPal dispute file against the Good Brothers here. We don't want to do that.
Big hoot, little hoot, brother too hard.
But the point I was making was, we were all real excited. Josh even said it on this show, like, our world's changed forever. Like, I don't know that they did, because you only signed the Good Brothers and Brian Myers, and everyone else is just making appearances, And I think, I really think the core Impact fan base was really disappointed by this. It just seemed.
I would agree. I would think for all of the hype that there was leading into Bound for Glory,
Slammiversary, you mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, Slammiversary. For all the hype that there was leading to Slammiversary, what we came out of it with was, one match from EC3 and, Heath doing some stuff and the Good Brothers. And Brian Myers looks like an up and comer.
Dude, yeah, I'm feeling him. I really am. I like what he's doing a lot.
Right. So like most things, I wouldn't say that we're gonna look back on this and be like, this was a pivotal moment in the history of Impact Wrestling. But it was cool. Like I said last week, it was a really fun moment to have everybody have their attention on Impact Wrestling in a positive way for Slammiversary. And so, that in and of itself was worth the hype.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk Rich Swan, Eric Young here. This is something I think they're just doing an excellent job with. And we had this conversation a few weeks ago that I really hope Rich Swan, and it's even playing into the vignettes a little bit too. I hope he comes back and shows up in the best shape of his career. Just like a clear body transformation. I'm not saying show up like Brian Cage, but show up more like Chris Bay than maybe how he looked before. I would like to see that. I think Rich Swan needs to show up with new music. I don't think he can come out dancing with what's at stake here and the story they're telling. I just don't think that works in this case. So I hope he comes out serious. But the video packages they're doing with Eric Young, I think, are real good. I still haven't realized if these are the same video packages every week or if he's saying something different.
No, they are. They're the same ones.
The same one. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I just listen differently every time because I guess I always pick up something that's different. But it's really well done. If they would have done a new one every week, I think it would have been something, to look forward to.
Yeah.
I guess the only real knock I have on the build is like the fake orthopedic surgeon and all that. That's a problem. Sometimes they use the same employees as extras, and we're not dumb. You know what I mean? So that makes it's kind of odd. But other than that, what they're doing here is, I think they're telling a good story. I think that Rich Swan was on his way to like superstardom and he got hurt. And then when he came back, they're like, we're going to pick up where we left off. And that might've been even when Sue Young's contract ran out. Maybe that was even a negotiation tactic. Like, well, what are you going to do with my husband? Because he's hurt, and that's no insider information there. I'm just, making a comment, but I'm glad that they're kind of picking up where they left off. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to this match. I was looking forward to it when it was leaked and before we knew it was for the the world title. I was looking forward to it. And now that it's the main event, maybe it's not the big star drawing power type of match, but we're invested in it. So
yeah.
What do you?
So the story has been excellent. I think that's undeniable, right? The story they've told here has been consistent and it's been good. And it's going, you can draw a straight line all the way from Slammiversary up through Bound for Glory. The story of Rich Swan's comeback, fighting back from the injury and then getting re-injured. Eric Young, not winning the title that night, but winning the title later. Rich Swan coming back claiming that he's the only person who has a claim to challenge Eric Young because he pinned him at Slammiversary before he got injured. And, and then Eric Young continuing to be vicious and, just hurt Rich Swan at every possible turn.
Yeah.
And the injured underdog Rich Swan is going to fight for the world championship. And listen, if there is anything that we know for sure about Rich Swan is that he can put on a damn match. He can put on a match. And if there's anything we know about Eric Young, he can put on a damn match. I'd be willing to bet both of your testicles that this is going to be a fantastic match.
Yeah.
it's good. And it is a shame. It is a shame that this match won't be in front of people. I think Impact Wrestling, if anybody from Impact Wrestling hears this, if you are under the sound of my digital voice, find some way to get fans at ringside. Even if you just bring out all the wrestlers who are done with their matches to be around the ring for this Rich Swan, Eric Young match, because they are going to put on a banger and you need to have people clapping and cheering and going 1, 2, oh, you know what I mean? And then when the finish happens, whether it's a tap out or or miraculous roll up, like you need people going crazy, booing and throwing whatever, you know what I mean? Like, because this match, I guarantee you this match is going to be awesome. Eric Young is going to be a dastardly bastard of a heel, and Rich Swan is going to be the fighting underdog. He's going to do some spectacular highlight reel stuff, and we need to hear some oohs and ahs when this happens. That's what wrestling is. We're going to be oohing and ahhing at home, but it's going to feel so much better if it's adding to the ambiance of the match. So Impact Wrestling, find some way to get people around the ring for this match.
That's a really good idea. We're not saying for the whole pay-per-view, but if you found a way to put some people at ringside for this match, even if it was the wrestlers, I think that it would make it feel so big. And think about the possibilities. If Rich Swan wins, everyone could rush the ring and hold him up. If Eric Young somehow wins, and then not somehow, he's likely to win, I think, but if he does win and then starts pummeling Rich Swan again, then you have a bunch of baby faces charge the ring, and Eric leaves like the biggest heel in the world again, like a hated man. Everyone wants to get their hands on him, and which could lead to a tournament, a gauntlet, all sorts of things of people just, let me get my hands on Eric Young, possibilities are there. So
yeah, I mean, and look, these guys, when they do these tapings, they're all around each other anyway. They're wrestling each other. So what's the point? What's the problem? Have them stand next to each other in the audience. And look, how many people aren't going to be on this show, right? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think, well, the Deaners will probably, I think everybody's going to be in a damn Call Your Shot gauntlet. But like, there will be people available. You can interchange them throughout segments. Put different people around the ring. Like, come on, man, give us some atmosphere for this show.
Yeah, because these shows
do this. AEW's been doing this for months, and like I said, if you're gonna have these people wrestling each other anyway, then what's the harm in putting them around the ring together?
These shows are lifeless, man. And it's getting to a point that sometimes I can't even tell if an episode is good or bad because they all just feel so lifeless. You know what I mean? So yeah. I have to, like, this episode I thought was good, but I had to really block out the silence and try to focus on the stories and the wrestling,
For me, when I see clips, like old clips, even if it's in like, the Sam's Town Casino and there's just a few hundred people there, I'm like, oh my God, people, right. Give us people.
Yeah.
Just, because it's, oh man, it's tough. It's tough to watch.
It's tough to watch. So prediction time. Obviously they can go one or two ways. Rich Swan's going to win or Eric Young is going to win. Let me throw this out there first. If Rich Swan wins, who probably it would be a great moment, they're hot-shotting the title at this point, the world title. It's flip. He'll be like the fourth world champion, fourth or fifth. Let's see who is champions this year. Brian Cage, I think, opened the year. Yeah. Sammy Callahan, Tessa Blanchard, Eddie Edwards, and Eric Young.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
In over a 10-month period, damn near 11 months. Yeah, 10 full months, damn near. 5 champions. So to think we're going to get a 6th champion, dude, that sounds like a lot.
That does sound like a lot.
So with that being said, and then also the flip side, man, this would be a great moment to build a main eventer with Rich Swan. We don't want to see him go back to the tag division with Willie Mack. We want to see him elevate. So who do you think is going to ultimately win this match here? Because pay-per-views like to go off the air with baby phases if they can.
So I originally thought Rich Swan, but I'm thinking now that there could be a chance that Impact has its eyes on next year getting fans back in the building. And if you have Rich Swan, you tell this emotional story, fight back, have a valiant effort at Bound for Glory and lose, right? And now you got to go to the back of the line. So now, guess what that does? That gives you months and months of TV of Rich Swan working his way back. And now, let's see how things are looking at the top of the year. If we might think about having some people somewhere, maybe you do another homecoming, something like that. And if you potentially might have people in the building, that might be the time to do the culmination of the Rich Swan story. And so, having said that, I still don't think Impact Wrestling is thinking about getting people back in the building. I think they're just going to keep going along with it just like this as long as they can, which is forever. And so I think that they're not planning long term with the Rich Swan thing. And I think Rich Swan wins. I think the babyface culminates his journey, fights back, and wins the title at Bound for Glory. I am taking Rich Homie Swan.
Okay, I'm gonna select Eric Young. I'm gonna go with him on this one for what I said about hot-shotting the title, having a 6 world champion. What you're saying, even though you're saying you don't think it's gonna happen, it makes they have an opportunity to do with the Rich Swan what they should have done with Tessa Blanchard, like build an underdog story, and then after Eric Young has maybe run through a few competitors, then revisit it. You know, I mentioned when Sammy won the world title, had Tessa showed up 30 seconds later before Brian Cage could even lead. Dude, let Sammy have a couple feuds and then unsuspectingly bring Tessa in, but they didn't want to do that.
Right.
So they have an opportunity to do that with Swan this time. And here's something I want to throw out there too. You know, if WWE, they would have done this. They're due to have someone break Bobby Roode's world title record. WWE would have been done, you know, taken care of this already. But you know, Bobby Roode still holds that record.
But see, I think there's a difference here. I think the difference here is that WWE is petty. They are petty for petty's sake.
Yeah, true.
And WWE will do that just to erase you from their record books, right? The big difference there is that Impact Wrestling is proud of their legacy, right? They are proud of the time that Bobby Roode was their champion and the work he put in and you know, his title reign. And so I don't think they want to erase his record there, you know what I mean, his place in the record books. I don't think they want to replace that until, you know, something, I guess, kind of organically comes, because I don't think you start out saying this person's going to break Bobby Roode's record, right? Like, I think you just, if it's working, you keep rolling with it. Like same thing, you know, when Bobby Roode got that title, I don't think that the plan was for him to have it for, what was it, 250 days or something like that. You know, I don't think that was necessarily the plan. I think it was just like, hey, this is working. Let's keep rolling with it. And so, yeah, you know what I mean? I think that in the case of Impact Wrestling, I think they'll have somebody break his record when it's someone who they can hang their hat on. And yeah, I don't know if anybody on the roster would be that person. It'll probably be somebody like Ace Austin. You know what I mean? Somebody that would truly represent like a changing of a guard of a next generation.
True.
That's who I would think it would be. But I don't think that they would do that with Eric Young just for the sake of, you know, breaking Bobby Roode's record.
Okay, fair enough. So we differ on that one. You got Rich, I got Eric Young. So let's talk Eddie Edwards and Ken Shamrock. This is the one that at first was leaked. We thought it was going to be the world title match. Everyone started freaking out.
Right.
And this is odd because, I mean, the only odd part about this is that he's being inducted to the Hall of Fame Saturday, probably as a babyface, and then Sunday he's going to come out as a heel. So that's real kind of weird dynamic, but probably not that big of a deal. The story ended up being something better than what we expected, even though we kind of, when Eddie got attacked randomly, like, okay, we know where this is going. But the inclusion of Sami Callihan flipping back to heel where he belonged and, you know, playing a role here. This episode of Impact featured Eddie versus Sammy in a one-on-one match where I was just like, please do not beat this to death between those two. Like there's longevity with their feud. It's one of the feuds that if they let it breathe, we wouldn't mind watching the same match over and over, I think. But they got to let it breathe. You can't do the Tessa Sammy thing and they fight every week. Right. So I'm glad that it ended the way, because how did it? No, Sammy won. That's right. He won. It wasn't a DQ finish or nothing, but it was.
That's right. It was like Shamrock interfered and it was like a roll up, I think.
Right. So yeah. Sammy needed that freaking win. Like,
that's true.
This dude has lost so much. Even as a world champion, he was losing tag team matches. So, but the build was something I think better than what we expected. You have to believe that Eddie Edwards is going to get a good match out of anybody. I'm more inclined to think this isn't going to be the best match in the world, but it could surprise us because, as I said, Eddie can get a good match out of anyone. So give me your thoughts on this feud. And as I said, this is something at first we're like, God, we don't want to see this. And then it got a little more interesting.
Yeah, same thing, right? Like again, like on paper, I was like, ugh, right? And so, but the way it's played out makes sense, right? It makes sense why they're fighting, and I'm ready to see the fight. And I think that, listen, you can do this match, right? Like it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Have Shamrock beat Eddie up, have Eddie do the comeback and win, right? Like this doesn't have to be a big deal. And you got Sammy there, so Sammy's gonna play into it. Obviously, I think they'll have a solid match. And I expect Eddie to win.
I got Eddie winning as well. Part of me said, okay, well, Shamrock's the Hall of Fame inductee. They're gonna find a way to get him a win. The Rock is, sending in the video package, but I just don't see a lot of. I'd rather just see Eddie and Sammy kind of continue on with a feud, so I just feel like Eddie has to win, because you have to imagine Shamrock doesn't have many dates left in this company.
Right.
So what's the point of him winning other than a feel-good moment and giving Eddie another loss after he had that BS title reign? Right. Like, hey, you're also going to lose a Bound for Glory. What do you think of that?
Right.
This is a real interesting fact. Even though Eddie is in my top probably 3 favorites in the company, 3 or 4, he is part of my least favorite match of almost every pay-per-view.
Hold on, time out. I got the Eagles and Giants game on, and the Giants quarterback Daniel Jones just busted a 90-yard run. Had to be, hold on, this ball is snapped from probably.
He ran it?
Probably like the 11-yard line. He's running wide open. Nobody is touching him because, even though he runs, he's still tall and white, so people don't think he's running. And so he runs all the way down to the other 10-yard line and falls on his face. No one touches him. He just falls. He just falls.
I'm looking that up as soon as we're done here. Oh my God.
Oh my God. He is wide open and he doesn't even like trip. He just runs. He just falls.
I got some meme work to do. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
I know. He should be ashamed of himself. Oh my God, they're showing slow-mo and he's like running so hard, like
Whoa.
How are you one of the best athletes in the world and also one of the worst? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah. I'll definitely look that up when we're done here. I don't even know what I was saying, dude. Got way off course there. We're talking with I want to say that I was saying Eddie kind of got that BS title run, and I don't see him.
He got the BS title run, and you got a feeling that they're gonna kick him in the balls a little more.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they can do that to him. I know he's a good soldier, but come on, dude.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna get the win. There's been Twitter chatter that some people think Davey Richards could show up here as a reinforcement, because they've even kind of told the story. You have nobody. They've even, kind of said that. I think Sammy said that as part at past episode. You have nobody. So sometimes that's forecasting a little bit. I think the chances of Davey showing up are pretty slim, to be honest.
Let me look on Davey Richards' Twitter and see if there's anything that might indicate he's been wrestling
or thinking of it. He's been trying to come back to wrestling, not necessarily Impact, but I know he has problems with, or Ethan Page has problems with him. And if you're talking about, because he no-showed a couple of his events that he booked them for. So, and if you're trying to re-sign Ethan Page, I don't see that quite happening. Speaking of Davey Richards, I've told the story a couple times. I actually saw Angelina Love out in public out here about a year and a half ago in the Social Security office, but the place was packed. So I really badly wanted to go up and be like, oh, I'm a fan, but the place was packed. And if I would have brought any. If I would have said anything to her, because it was also really quiet, everyone would have looked at her. You know what I mean? So I was trying to respect that. I chatted with her on social media a little bit, and she kind of laughed about it. She's like, "Oh, you could have come say hi." But she was changing her last name.
Oh,
that's what she was there.
Well, yeah, Davey Richards, his picture on Twitter is him and someone who's not Angelina Love and his child.
Oh, okay.
Their child.
Oh,
interesting. I'm trying to see.
Because you can even look at his last few follows. Like, is it Impact related?
It appears he hasn't tweeted since December of 2018. So,
he's not coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not even gonna entertain that, but it's fun to fun to fantasy book here a little bit.
Yeah.
It would be cool if someone came to. Chances are Tommy Dreamer is going to come to get his back. I mean, remember I told you, dude. I said that there's a very high possibility that we're going to get Eddie and Tommy versus Sammy and what's his fuck at some point, like Shamrock. So I bet we get that at the next Impact Plus event. I'm gonna call that right now. There's no way they don't blow their blow their load. There's no way that the powers that be aren't like, oh my God, we can get Tommy Dreamer and Ken Shamrock in the same ring. Like,
this is a sellout. Oh my God.
Yes, that this conversation is happening. So I'm calling that at the next Impact Plus event. So I think, okay, so we both got Eddie Edwards winning this thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk Deonna and Kylie. When they first announced this, or when Kylie won the gauntlet, I had said, yo, we got an opportunity for a really good
event, baby.
Yeah, I think Eddie and Shamrock is going to be the but we'll see. This is the real co-main event for sure, though. I had said when we knew that she was the number one contender, like, yo, we got a really good opportunity for a great heel babyface dynamic here. They did a good job with that. They've even added edge to Kylie. So I just think the way they have put this together has been beautiful, flawless, perfect. Having, Susie get her arm broken and everything. This also poses the question, are we going to, Josh is always like, when is Su Yung coming back? Is she going to show up at Bound for Glory? I don't think she's going to show up at Bound for Glory because she's a different character. She could show up with her arm perfectly fine. I think we're going to get a Sue versus Deonna down the road. So because of that, I don't think Kylie's going to win this match. So either that or Kylie's going to win, and then Susie's going to blame her for the broken arm and attack her. That's a possibility too. Well, because they got the Knockouts tag team division thing going, I don't see that happening. But that's just me spitballing a couple things. But this match is probably going to be top 2 matches of the night. I mean, think how good Deonna and Jordan Grace, think how good those were, and Kylie's probably a better in ring than she is. So I really think this is gonna be like top 2 matches, but people are really gonna be talking about this one. Give me your thoughts on Deonna, Kylie.
Like I said, baby, this is the co-main. To me, this is the match I'm looking forward to see. Probably the most, other than the main event. And I mean, this is one of those matches where the outcome is genuinely in doubt, right? Like, I think that with a lot of these matches, you can talk yourself into one person or the other winning. And I think with this match, I feel like there's really, you can lean one way or the other and they both make sense. So what do we know about Impact Wrestling? Like, they love a wrestler who can come in and give them some publicity. And that's what they've done with Deonna Purrazzo. She's gave them the publicity from coming from NXT. And, she's come in, she's had, 2 bangers with Jordan Grace, and she's getting buzzed. Like, if you look around the internet, like, there's an article in Forbes on the 2 of them today. Deonna Purrazzo is constantly being covered on, in Sports Illustrated or on Busted Open. Like, she's delivering what they wanted her for. But guess what? Kylie Ray is too. If you pay attention to indie wrestling, Kylie Ray is everywhere. She is hot and on fire. She's wrestling anybody and everybody out there, and she's beating them. She's beating them. And so she's hot right now, right? Like, I mean, Kylie Ray, if there is a more up and comer in the whole wrestling business, who is it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, who is it? Kylie Ray is a hot property right now. You can't tell me that she would not be wanted. She would not be coveted in the women's division in AEW, on Raw, on SmackDown, or NXT. And I would even go as far as to say you put her in AEW, Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, and she's going to be one of the top 3 performers on there. So she's good. She's good by good standards. And everything that I've seen tells me that this is going to be a banger. And other than the fact that I know for a fact that Rich Swan and Eric Young are going to have a phenomenal match, that's the only thing that's keeping me from saying that this is going to be the match of the night.
Yeah,
this
right.
This
Same
is
here.
going to be great. If you like wrestling, you like this match. You want this match. You are anticipating this match because the action is going to be good. The story is there. The psychology is there. I think their styles will mesh well, and you don't know who's going to win. You might think you know who's going to win, but if either person wins, you wouldn't be shocked.
Right, right.
That's what we want.
Yes.
For any TV show you watch, you want that genuine suspense of, I don't know what's going to happen. And this is here. This is here. This is it. You know what I mean? This is it. This in an empty arena. This has a big fight feel. And I'm here for it. It's going to be good. The action is going to deliver. These are 2 hot properties. These are 2 properties that have not been big stars anywhere else. This is going to be one for the Impact record books. This is going to be one that is going to be the Impact flashback this time next year. Who am I kidding? It'll be the Impact flashback 3 months from now, right? And so this is going to be great. This is going to, you know, am I getting you hyped? Am I getting you hyped for the match? Listen, this is going to be a good one. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And my prediction, Kylie wins. Kylie wins. Kylie wins. They have told this story much the way that I said they should have told the story between the Good Brothers and the Machine Guns, which is, you know, 2 people coming up opposite sides of the roster and just kind of meeting in the middle. Well, that's exactly what Deonna and Kylie Ray have done. As a matter of fact, they've done it in ways that are the antithesis of each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, Deonna came right in, got the Knockouts title shot, beat the babyface. You know, she becomes the top heel right away. So if you're somebody who's like, yo, you got to work your way up, then you don't like her for that, right? And then on the other hand, you got Kylie Ray, works her way up, right? She's wrestling Kimberly and everybody else, you know, coming up the ladder. And you know, she got a few too many wins over Taya for my liking, but you know, whatever, it's okay. But she totally, you know, worked her way up, earned her spot, and now she's here to go one-on-one with the champ. Like, she's earned her way. So you got the person who's, you know, just stunting, showing off she's got her goon, and you know, she just wants to hang back and be the champ and attack you from behind, versus, you know, the person that wants to have a fair fight and do what's right. Listen, all the elements of good pro wrestling are here. If you like wrestling, you want to see this match. So yeah, man, my pick is Kylie Ray, and like I said, this is, oh man, I want to say when it's all said and done, this will have been the match of the night. We're going to come back to this at the end. We're going to pick what we think will be the match of the night.
Okay,
but
sounds good.
I'm picking Kylie Ray for this one. New Knockouts champ.
I'm going to lean towards Deonna myself, but as you said, it could go either way. And chances are one of the 2 baby faces between Swan and Kylie Ray are going to get their comeuppance. It's hard to believe neither of them will. So, but I'm still going to lean towards Deonna myself. All right, so let's talk EC3 and Moose. We talked a little bit about this already. We talked about the dark, ominous tones. Moose had been very funny for a long time, and he started getting kind of serious. We're going to get our first taste of the new EC3 in Impact. I expect different music, a different entrance. We'll see if the wrestling style is, any different, a little more of a fighter, rather than out there trying to do TKOs and things like that, which he needs to stop doing that move because it never looks good. I miss the old 1%er, man, because in NXT he used a TKO, right? Is his finisher?
Maybe, I think so. I don't even know.
The TK3.
I don't know.
Yeah, man. I thought the 1%er was actually. I used to like it when Moxley, when he was Dean Ambrose and did that same move. That's always just been one of my favorite moves. I don't know why. That being said, though, this is going to be at an undisclosed location, so that's probably why it wasn't leaked ahead of time, because it was nothing they talked about on the show. Actually, it was all done backstage vignette stuff. Moose hasn't wrestled in forever. And they do this with the big pay-per-views. Like, the top people don't wrestle at all, which is okay. Like I said, I would like to see them maybe get some easy wins here just to break it up, and so we're not seeing the same people wrestle all the time. But I don't know what to expect from this match. This is, I think, for me, the hardest one to call. We've made points why Moose could win, should win, why EC3 is likely to win, and I don't know. I can't call this one. I know you've been the resident EC3 Moose feud expert here. So, you've had more time to think about. You've had time to think about this, and more time since last time we spoke. Do you think who's going to win this?
Yeah.
It's not really going to be a match, though. More of a fight. Maybe no one wins. But.
No, right. Right. I think that's a great point. This is going to be, the undisclosed location. So I fully expect this to be like, a cinematic style fight. So there may not be a referee and a 1, 2, 3 here, right? That may not be a thing. I think that's totally true. We may get something where it's more of like the last ride style. And all of that said, you got to go with the person where the momentum is leaning. EC3 was the thing that closed the show at Slammiversary. And, a lot of people are just excited about his presence. And so I don't think that they're going to have him come back and lose his match at his only program, his only match for the program. Because I don't think he'll be here beyond this. But that said, I think the build to this has been excellent. You don't really need to have matches. That's so overdone. The fact that they've done this different style of storytelling, right? Like we know both these guys can wrestle. We don't need to get hyped up on their move set. Like we know these guys can go. So let's just build the story. Let's just build the story for why we have to fight, why it matters. And they've done that. They've done that successfully. In my opinion, I think that they've taken away some of the things that have made me see Moose as kind of not the baby face, but kind of be on his side here, like EC3 stealing his title. Then they had Moose kind of get the upper hand in the last fight. And so to me, that says that EC3 is going to be the one to get the upper hand the next time that they meet, which will be at Bound for Glory. So if I had to pick, I'm definitely picking EC3, but I don't think EC3 should win. I think Moose should win, because Moose is the TNA Impact Wrestling guy. He's the guy out here calling himself Mr. Impact Wrestling, while EC3 is the guy out here wrestling at ROH, right? So, I think, again, like, if you're an Impact fan, you should want Moose to win, right? He's the Impact guy. He's the guy who will be here next week. And so, man. So, I would be rooting for Moose, but I think EC3 is going to win.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go with that.
The less you love Impact, the more they love you.
Yeah. yes. You're nailed it. So I'm gonna agree with you. I think EC3 is going to win. I would like to see Moose win. these are both two of my favorite wrestlers in the world. So I guess I'll be happy either way from a fan standpoint. I'm wondering if it's good. So EC3 did an interview on the ROH Strong podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He says that they fully believe that WWE stole the Raw Underground idea from the video that he released. Do you think so? I've seen no Raw Underground stuff. Would you say there's comparisons?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, look, man, WWE. I'm pretty sure anybody who works there will tell you that they just do shit on a whim. You know what I mean? They just do shit on a whim. Like this is not funny, but it is kind of funny. Like they spent weeks of TV time introducing this group called Retribution, right?
Yeah.
And when I first saw it, so here's how this played out, right? I see a tweet from WWE today. One day, random caught me off guard. This tweet says there's an angle that's going to be done. There's a storyline that's going to be appearing on television tonight. It is not political. And I was like, interesting, right? And so then they introduced the Retribution group they have all of these like 5'2" NXT wrestlers, in like hoodies and like black hoodies and all this stuff, and they're like going around, they're smashing generators and smashing glass doors and and spray painting stuff, and eventually they come out and they like wreck the whole ringside set, and I'm like, you motherfuckers. I'm like, one of these ass wipes was watching the fucking cable news, and they were seeing like the riots and shit that were going on, and they were like, this would be great to do on TV. And they pulled some fucking NXT wrestlers and they said, we're going to have you guys cause chaos, whatever. And they had to go again. And that's why it's like one of those Saw movies when you saw all the clues start just, appearing right at the end of the movie, and you figure out what's going on. And they're like, oh, they're trying to do that. I'm like, I'm like, you guys are some real motherfuckers. And so this whole Retribution angle was some bullshit they came up with like on a whim, and it was terrible. Like the way that I just described it to you, I guarantee you that's the way most people saw it, and it turned people off, and they were not like they were not interested. Not only that, but the fact that it was all these tiny little people. Right. And again, this is pro wrestling, right? I'm not a bully by any means, but this is pro wrestling. So you got all of these tiny little people that are supposed to be running around causing havoc. And it's like, yo, this is a show about giant people who beat people up because they're like superheroes, right? Like, why is everybody scared of these 5'4" angry people? And so it never caught on. It never got any life. Then eventually they swapped those guys out with some bigger NXT wrestlers, but the whole thing was just dead. Like it has never caught on. They added this wrestler Mustafa Ali, made him like the leader of the group, and it's just dead. And this past week they had one of the guys get choked out in the first segment, and then they all got beat up by Bray Wyatt later in the show. I'm like, yo, this thing is dead, right? Like this is done. There's no way they can keep going with this. And it was all just like that was the flushing of the toilet with the shit idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
You on a whim, they came up with this doodle idea and it never worked, and eventually it got flushed. And so I said all that just to say, with the Raw Underground, yes, somebody saw EC3's video and they took it to whoever was in charge, like, yo, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like I have no trouble believing that at all. So yeah, I mean, like I don't doubt for a second that they were trying to copy off of EC3's thing.
Do you think that this match is going to be like a cinematic, we're fighting outside, fighting on the bridge, or do you think it's going to be like that underground?
Yeah,
ring.
I think the setup will be of more of the raw. See, this is why this shit works. Because I was gonna say it's gonna be Raw Underground style.
Yeah.
The Raw Underground style is basically just like that, right? It's gonna look like an abandoned warehouse. There'll be a wrestling ring. There'll be random people around the ring cheering as they fight. There may or may not be a referee, and I think that's what it'll be.
Okay, fair enough. By the way, I think that concept actually, given the right focus, could work. I mean, if you think about the Lucha Underground concept, then you could have done,
I agree,
an underground wrestling.
But you got to put more thought into it.
Yes, right.
The first week that they did it on WWE TV, it was just like such a cry for help. Like there's like, we have no idea what you guys like anymore, and we're just reaching. We're trying to give you Attitude Era vibes. Like they had like girls in like, go-go dancer outfits, and I'm like, yo, aren't we past this? You know what I mean? Like it was so much stuff that they were trying to be edgy and it just was all missing.
Right. Gotcha. All right. Fair enough. So we both got EC3 winning this thing. Let's talk about the tag title match. We talked about this a little bit at the top of the show. Didn't get the focus we would have liked to have seen. Just pitting them in random matches against each other. The one dream match that they had, they blew their load on it instead of waiting to get it in front of some people. I can't say I'm super interested in this, but I'm not a big... We talked about this before the show started. Like, I can't stand AEW's tag team division. Like, I hate them with every fiber of my being. Like, everything else on the show is fine to me. I hate their tag team style of wrestling. I think Impact's tag division is a lot more entertaining to watch. I just think it's a better... I wouldn't say it's a better division because they have bigger stars in AEW, but the matches are laid out better. However, when you do one of these matches, it's 4 teams. It's closer to the AEW style that I don't like. That's kind of my opinion. Yeah. So I can't say I'm like super... I should be more excited about this match than I am, and I'm just really not. That's all I really want to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, tag team wrestling is naturally built for the car crash style a little bit. You know what I mean? It is tag team wrestling by its nature. You have 2 people on a team. They can jump in and make a save at any time. It always has lended itself to a more, exciting, spontaneous type of flow of action, right? Like that's one of the things that's always made tag team wrestling so much fun to watch. And for as much as they've built every story for every match leading to the show, we got nothing, man. We got nothing for this this match here. And so I feel like this is just, it feels like it's just there. Now, here's what I think can happen here. And I think this will be good as far as creating some story going forward. I think Ace and Fulton should win. I think Ace and Fulton should win the titles. And, one of the reasons Ace and Fulton should win the titles is because it's like I always say, if you are going to bring in people from the outside, they need to eventually end up losing to Impact guys, right? Because this is Impact's house. Impact guys need to win, right? And so I think if Ace and Fulton win, that'll be an unexpected outcome. And then you get a chance to have your 2 babyface tag teams chasing. Not only do you get a chance to have your 2 babyface tag teams chasing, you can now have Ace and Fulton start getting challenges from the other teams on the roster. They can get challenges from the Deaners. They can get challenges from the Rascals. They can get challenges from Triple XL, right? If you do that right, that's like 2 months of TV right there, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do all of that, and then you can eventually come back to Ace and Fulton versus the Guns, or Ace and Fulton versus Gallows and Anderson. And you can actually have Gallows and Anderson and the Guns like work their way to a match for the titles, and then eventually have to go back against each other. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Ace and Fulton win, and those are going to be my pick.
Okay, I would like to see that too. I am going to say that the Good Brothers, I think it's more likely that this is like the third time I've used this terminology, but I think it's more likely the Impact blows their load and puts the titles on the Good Brothers sooner than later than put it on Fulton and Ace. I think what you're saying makes sense, and I think that's what should happen. It would have a very, I don't want to put on this same level, but a very like when Jericho beat Stone Cold and Austin in the same night. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, well, that's the guy who's going to lose in this match. Everyone's thinking, well, Fulton and Ace are surely going to lose.
And you know what? And knowing Ace Austin, just like Jericho, he would never let this down. You would hear him every week forever saying, we are the guys who beat the Good Brothers and the Motor City Machine Guns in the same night. You know, so that's all the more reason to do it.
Dude, that is the way to do this thing, man. That is exactly who should effing win. And even though I like that prediction, I'm just going to lean towards Good Brothers. Like, they're just going to do the safe thing.
It's because you bought the koozie. It's because you bought the koozie.
Yeah, it's the koozie. Well, I guess because they didn't send me the koozie, I should pick someone else. But just because I think that they're going to move on to a Machine Guns and Good Brothers feud. And that doesn't need the titles, but I feel like they are going to feel like it needs the titles. I'm just trying to think like they do. But I like your thinking way better. So I hope that's what happens. I really do. 2 more matches here. We're going to talk the X Division title match. Rohit Raju versus Jordan Grace versus Chris Bay, TJP, Trey Miguel, Willie Mack. I'm just going to come out and say right now, I actually think Rohit's going to win this thing. There's no way after the whole story they've told where he's a chicken shit and he loses and stuff. There's no way he's going to go this and lose, dude. Dude, at some point with Rohit Raju, you have to give him something. You have to give him some momentum. Like, he can't just be a placeholder. This X Division Championship is just straight up a hot potato title right now. Everything they did to build it back up when Matt Sydal and Brian Cage were having matches and everything, like it's right back almost to where it was in the waning days of Dixie Carter, man. Like, but the thing with like Rohit, when he's wrestling, dude, he's doing like this awesome job in the ring. Like he can hang with whatever X Division dude you want to do. But then when it comes to the finish of the match, they just can't give him anything. And here's the weird thing, man. Like, TJP needs to be X Division champion. I cannot believe they have not put the title on him for everything that we say about them putting titles on former WWE people and everything. This is the one dude who really should have a title, and he's not getting it. And then Willie Mack's not going to win it again. They're just trying to give him something meaningful to do. And then not TJP, but Trey. Dude, how many just like the Rascals as a tag team, how many opportunities is this guy going to get? And it's kind of like you think, well, he's due to win a title at some point too. So this can go at many different. Jordan Grace is not going to win it. There's no way in hell they do this. After the whole Tessa thing, there's no way. I think they're finding something for her to do. And then I think they're going to try to do the Knockouts tag team thing. You know, someone was telling me on YouTube today, well, they don't have enough tag teams. So I'm like, well, the guys have like 8 or 9 teams. The girls have enough for 6. And they only require 1 or 2 matches a show. So, and the 2 people feuding for the Knockouts title right now are part of tag teams. So you can make the titles coexist. So I just think that Jordan's going to move on to something with the Knockouts. I keep saying I think she's going to team with Alicia. We'll see if that happens. Whatever. I'm probably forecasting way too much, but I don't think Jordan's going to win this thing. It's either going to be Rohit, Trey, or TJP. I don't think Chris Bay is going to win, even though I would have liked to see him have a longer run. I'm sticking by Rohit. I think the match will be fun, but I really think he's going to win. There's no way this dude loses again. Like, no way. I said that about an OVE for about a year. There's no way they lose again this week, and then they lose. So who we'll see. But you got any predictions on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Rohit gets the win. They've been building, like you said, they've been building him as the chicken shit heel, and Yeah, I mean, like he's in perfect position to kind of turn the corner and become a more dangerous, more vicious Rohit. And I think that that's the way this should play out. I think that, you know, he'll have his back against the wall, and I think he finds a way to get it done. And, you know, and then you can move on to him and somebody else, because like you said, in the ring, he's good. He can wrestle with anybody. And his character's good. It's just like you said, for whatever reason, man, they just don't seem to see him as like a feature player. But I say give him a chance and see what he can do. And I think so far he's done well with what he's been given. So, you know, I say keep letting him run. I'm picking Rohit.
Okay, we agree on that one. And then the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So the last one we're going to talk about. People are expecting surprises. They've announced 10 people out of the 20. So even if you throw Reno Scum, Triple XL, and the Deaners in there, that still leaves
four-ish.
Yeah. I'm gonna say there's gonna be surprises, but I'm quick to tell people this is gonna be the first match of the night. They're not going to outshine the rest of the card with these debuts. You know, that's why I had said when Eli Drake had the open challenge, I was like, Chris Jericho's not going to show up because this isn't the main event. Jericho's not going to come out for one of the opening matches of the night and then completely overshadow the rest of the card. That doesn't make any sense. So as far as people we could see, I think you're more likely to see like an Enzo than you are. I can't even think of a big possible name that could.
Who's even out there?
I don't know, dude. One name I'm going to throw out there because I know he was talking with Impact right before the pandemic was a man formerly known as Alex Riley.
Okay.
This dude, I used to love him in NXT and WWE. Loved him. So I've been for years patiently waiting, like this dude has to show up at Impact at some point. I know he kind of stopped wrestling, but I know that he was at Impact in March, was talking business. So we'll see. There, you got to remember too the TNA show that got canceled.
Right.
So we might get Wildcat Chris Harris or Shark Boy. Dude, we're gonna get a comedy character, at least one in this. It's a guarantee. So I think Shark Boy is gonna come out, just like we got Swaggle last year, which I was so fucking pissed when he came out. Just because, dude, I know I talk about ad nauseum, like this can be their Money in the Bank or something, but it just never is. They've done Bound for Gold. You know, I remember the year Tyrus won, and they had something intriguing where he could have challenged EC3, but instead he didn't cash in for the longest time, and then they gave him a bullshit first match of Impact against, you know, we talk about open world title matches going number one in the show. Bullshit match with Drew Galloway to start off the show just to get rid of this, you know. Eli Drake won, didn't win. It seems like whoever wins these matches, though, the Bound for Gold, some of them don't win. It's not like where someone wins the Money in the Bank and your gut is that's a future world champion. You feel like there's an 80% chance, and it's hard to believe that with the current field that whoever wins this is a former world champion.
Right.
Given the 10 that they've thrown out there. And again, I really think we're going to get 3 tag teams, Shark Boy, and I don't know. But I know you got any thoughts of who
I'm going to throw something out there that is a bit far-fetched. It's a bit far-fetched, but I think this could happen. Surprise entrant / winner, Michael Elgin.
Interesting.
Michael Elgin comes back, wins the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, throws out Rhino as the last person. And, you know, so then you got Rhino crushed because he couldn't save Heath and, you know, and whatever. And Michael Elgin is now your Call Your Shot Gauntlet champion. And then you have Michael Elgin chasing Rich Swan. And why not? Right? Why not? That's a bit of a reach because I don't know. For all I know, is Michael Elgin suing Impact Wrestling?
I don't think so.
Let me ask my Twitter.
See, when Joey Ryan sued the company, this is different because, some people on my YouTube comments were like, well, yeah, he's going to win. I'm like, no, he's not, because they're not the reason he's unemployed.
Right.
Granted, they released him of a contract, but the accusations are why he's unemployed. And when Joey Ryan sued his initial group of people, and I read the documents, I was like, why didn't he tell anyone, oh, you cost me a job at Impact Wrestling? It's because he wants to sue Impact Wrestling too, but they're not. I don't know. But Michael Elgin, I don't think has that kind of ill will. From what I was told, he was a really good soldier the whole time at Impact. So I think it is a little far-fetched, but I can, it's a good guess.
They probably wouldn't want to jump back in bed with him.
I would.
He doesn't have a great rep.
I think a good one would be Mike Bennett.
Oh my God, yo. You know how I feel about Mike Bennett.
Yeah.
I would love to see Mike Bennett be the person who returns and gets it.
And then gets it.
Like, yo, honestly, to me, that'd be good TV. If Mike Bennett was to come in, win the gauntlet, and now you got Mike Bennett just for weeks and weeks, I'm gonna cash in, and you don't know when it's gonna happen.
Right.
Man, dude, I feel like that could be great TV.
Jinder Mahal wasn't released, was he?
Who?
Jinder Mahal.
Ooh, that's a good one. I never know. Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like every time we think Jinder Mahal is released, he pops up on WWE TV. So who knows? Because
I know he was really close to signing with TNA right before WWE brought him back. Like, he actually had a meeting with them.
I'm gonna say no, hard pass on that.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. Like, when they gave him the WWE Championship, we got to see the serious side, right? And it was fine. But it wasn't anything that made me say I need to see this guy anywhere else.
Right.
That's not. And I think, again, like, if you're Impact, you want to stay away from just grabbing anybody who was in WWE.
Yeah.
And Jinder Mahal is anybody who was in WWE. Heath is just anybody who was in WWE. Brian Myers is just anybody who was in WWE. And although Brian Myers appears to be a diamond in the rough there, you still, that's like one for what, Yeah. So, yeah. If I got to make a pick based on no surprise entrant, I'm going to pick Rhino.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Rhino wins, and then they get Heath now has a contract, and now the two of them can join the tag team ranks.
Yeah, man. I have to believe that the finish is going to involve them, but I wouldn't be surprised if the finish is like there's 3 people left and Rhino possibly turns. The easy money is that Heath and Rhino are going to be a team. What if Rhino actually dumps Heath at the end? But it would only work. He would get heat for it if there was a third person in the ring. If they're the last 2, then of course they got to eliminate each other. But if like Rhino dumps him at the end, like trying to fuck him over, and then someone throws Rhino out, I can see something like that. I think that's so. I'm actually picking Taya Valkyrie to win this thing. I think after the well, you know what? But she's got the wedding shit the next week, and that's a comedy angle,
right? So
but then Kylie Ray was the number 1 contender, and she was in a comedy angle in Wrestle House for a while. So
she's in Wrestle House, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm picking Taya. I'm gonna pick Taya, just because I
think Taya is a good pick, and I'm gonna tell you why I think Taya is a good pick. I think Taya is a good pick because I think once Tessa got her push, I think that lit a fire under Taya. I think Taya said to herself, I'm as good, if not better than her. And I think that Taya took her performance to another level.
Yeah.
And to me, she did her characters just were jumping off the screen. Her wrestling always has been really good, but she was just on another level. And I think it was clear to me and clear to, I think, anybody who was really watching, there was no way you could honestly look at her and look at Tessa during that time and say that Tessa's better than her at nothing.
Yeah, right. I agree.
And so, and it wouldn't surprise me if she were to, have said, hey, look, let me get the Tessa spot. Let me try it. I don't know if they would jump back and try that again so soon. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be shocked at all. And the thing about, Taya, she's bigger than Tessa. And so that just from a visual standpoint, that makes her matching up with the men look more believable. And so, listen, I would love to see Taya win. I'd love to see Taya win. I think that'd be interesting. I think she has all the tools to be a top performer on the show. You know what I mean? Like to carry segments in the start, middle, and end of the show that all center on her chasing the world championship or as the world champion. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's doable. And I think that'd actually be really cool. I would not, as a wrestling fan, as an Impact fan, I would not have any problems with seeing Taya have a run with the world title. I think she would do much more honor to that role than Tessa Blanchard did.
I still want to see Kelly Klein in Impact Wrestling. I am determined to make that happen. No, Kelly Klein. I'm determined to think it into existence that she's going to show up. Just because, like, the first time I saw her in Ring of Honor, I was like, dude, she's a fucking star, man. Like, I just and coming and showing up in a match where she can wrestle against the dudes because she could get away with it.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure who Kelly Klein is. I gotta look her up.
Yeah, she was BJ Whitmer's ex-wife, and then he left Ring of Honor and went to AEW, but now they're on the outs, so because people thought she was gonna follow him. But yeah, she's a fine motherfucker. I'll have to pull up. I'll just send you a pic or whatever. But but she's also like a powerhouse too. So I don't know. I'm determined to see it. So, but yeah. So we'll wrap it up right there with our Bound for Glory talk. And
so let's do this. What's your pick for match of the night? And what's your prediction for match of the night? What's your prediction for surprise of the night? And what's your prediction for maybe disappointment of the night?
Okay. Match of the night. I'm gonna say the knockouts match. Edges Swan and Young. What were the other ones? Disappointment of the night?
It's a surprise coming out of the show and disappointment.
My disappointment is going to be that I think the Good Brothers win the titles when they don't need the titles. But they're clearly running Impact Wrestling right now, so like I think they might be co-VPs or something. And then surprise, that's a tough one because we don't exactly know who's going to show up, but man, I can't call that one. I can't go with surprise because it's too. I can't even think of a possibility of someone who has a high probability of showing up. Heath kind of teased that some former WWE people are going to be there, but I can't even think like of the people who are fired. I mean, you can only think of like the Ascension, Primo, Epico, but these are like tag wrestlers. So it's just, oh my God. No, not my biggest disappointment might even be if Shark Boy actually does show up. But yeah, I can't. I got nothing on the surprise. I don't think I can.
All right. So for match of the night, I'm going to stick to my guns. Match of the night is going to be Rich Swann versus Eric Young. I think that's going to be the match of the night. with a close second being the knockouts match. This is going to be 1A and 1B. I am hyped for this knockouts match. I listen, this is going to be a match. I'm don't let me down. So that's going to be, I'm picking the world title match to deliver for the main event. Surprise of the night. I like what you said. I'm going to pick my surprise of the night is going to be Mike and Maria are going to show up in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. That's going to be the surprise of the night. And
I got a surprise. Continue where you're saying, but I've got one now.
And
all right.
The disappointment of the night will be, for me, when Deonna Purrazzo taps out Kylie Ray to retain the Knockouts Championship.
I got a surprise. I think the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, I think Matt Cardona is going to show up.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. His AEW contract is up, so
I'm going to put it like this, though. I don't want him to show up. He has clearly stated he wants to wrestle in AEW.
Yeah.
I don't want Impact to bring guys like that on board.
Right.
Now for all we know,
you don't want Deonna Purrazzo, because she basically said that she was using Impact as a tune-up to go somewhere bigger.
Did she say that?
Something like that. In her interview with Chris Van Vliet, she kind of intimated that, she wanted to, basically get tuned up before she went to a bigger stage.
But Tessa Blanchard said something like that.
You can look it up.
Okay.
It's in there. It's in there. She didn't necessarily say it specifically, but pretty close.
Chris Van Vliet followed me on Twitter, and I was thinking, okay, he's just probably following people and unfollowing, but he still follows me, and he has a pretty large follower to followee ratio, so he's not just following people. You know what I mean? So I'm like, Tessa Blanchard said something similar, but I didn't take it as a very disrespectful towards Impact comment. It just seemed like she had a very classy way of just being like, I want to wrestle everywhere. I want to make the necessary stops, but I might not be ready for up here yet. So, because Deonna did say she wanted to wrestle in AEW or Impact. Like, she did say that before she showed up in Impact. She did say AEW was her preference, but I mean, you have to believe, like, even Brian Myers, he probably would have preferred to wrestle in AEW.
Sure.
Most of these free agents probably do, but there's also, you sit down and you say, okay, well, what are the plans for me? And if it's nothing, well, let me go here and show what I can do. Some people want to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. That's a possibility too. Or
I don't fault anybody for wanting to go somewhere where you're going to get more exposure and make more money, right? Like, I don't fault anybody for going to a situation like that. Who doesn't want to make more money and have more fun at work, right? Like, everybody does. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just being an Impact fan. You know what I mean? Like, part of my fandom. Part of my fandom is being a hater on the competition.
Yeah, I've even put myself in the same position. I think about my job and I'm like, dude, I'm happy with what I make. But if they're like, if anyone was like, hey, dude, we're going to give you like $4 more an hour, even nothing,
right?
Out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And I'm not complaining about my wage, but if someone were to offer me more, it'd be very hard to say no.
Right.
So that's just the nature of, I don't want to see Cardona show up because, as I said, he's been very clear. I want to be in AEW long term. The contract ran out, so he could show up and just do a one match. But I think the powers at Impact still. I think there's still that WWE guy. I just think that's always going to be there with them.
Yeah. So people out there in the internet verse, what are your predictions? You know what I mean? Go ahead, drop them in the comments below. We're going to dive into these comments and interact with you, see what you guys think about what we had to say. And, we'll tell you how bad your ideas are too.
Hell yeah. All right, folks. So thanks for checking us out here with the Cool Factor podcast. As always, can't wait to interact with you guys, see what you think. And then we will review Bound for Glory next week, talk about that show and all that good shit. So for TW, I am BQ. Thanks for checking us out. We are out. Peace.